Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your
hosts,
Mike
and Torya.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. YPN people, I don't know about you, but I love helping out a friend. That's why I want to shout out my friend Brian Little and his podcast, Your Favorite Blockhead. This is the only show that manages to weave together peanuts and MMA into one heck of an amazing podcast. You can find Your Favorite Blockhead wherever your favorite podcasts reside and at yourfavoriteblockhead.com. Do me a huge favor and listen to Brian's show. You'll be entertained and you'll help out a friend. Now, as I said, let's get into today's topic. So did you see there was another athlete here in Las Vegas that hit the deck for no good reason?
It's getting kind of crazy.
It's happening more and more and more.
It's all over the news every day that there's like another young athlete that has passed on for no apparent reason.
Yeah, and it's crazy how many more you hear about these days, and who knows what the cause is. I mean, people have their ideas, but who knows what the real cause is?
Yeah, it's crazy. I hope they figure out what's happening soon.
Some people need their they need their image changed a bit. So it's no different than our guest today, right? He's an aerospace and defense research analyst, and he's also a podcaster running the Pagutharevu podcast. And show covers politics, history, and related commentary. So welcome, Aron Kumar, to the show.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, glad
we're happy
you're
here.
Yeah, we missed you the last time. Sorry about that. I don't know how our wires got crossed, but it happens. So we were talking prior to coming on the air here about how you feel like people have an unfair opinion of India, right, as a whole.
Yes, sir.
And that you'd like to kind of set the record straight on that. And what we said, maybe we should start with talking about what is there's the thing that's super, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's kind of very popular these days is the scam bait videos on YouTube. And so going a little deeper than that, let's talk about the effects that the scammers are having on, the Indian economy and, the everyday, Indian person trying to make a living and just survive.
Sure. I came across these scammer organizations through the YouTubers who have been exposing them, and I am subscribed to their channels and I watch their videos, how they hack into the scammer systems. They catch them in their workplace, they capture their video, they delete their files and so on. I am equally surprised about it. Now, I know some of my friends who used to work in call centers, these customer support care centers where, they would be the customer service for American corporations. So, if you buy a product and, some electronic device and you have a problem with it, you call customer support, and it would be one of my friends picking up the call and helping you, tech support out of India. That's what I used to know. I did not know until I watched these YouTubers expose these scammers that such a scam has been happening where, this is organized crime. There is no other way of looking at it. And they tend to call gullible individuals, usually senior citizens, I suppose, and then they sound like they pose as IRS officials, and they kind of present a false complaint on the person and say, you owe the government so much. And because IRS and tax evasion is considered very serious in the US, a lot of people who are not aware of how to verify such calls, they fall for those scams, and then they end up losing their savings and so on. And I think what I'm describing is just one version of those scams. There are many such versions out there based on the YouTube videos that I have been watching. I am based at Chennai, India, and Chennai is a city in the southernmost state. And on the videos that I watch, a lot of these scammer organizations operate out of very different cities. Mumbai, Kolkata, some in the Delhi region, and so on. And there are other tier two, tier three cities out of which they operate. A lot of those locations are falling in the north, east, and western parts of India. They speak very different languages there. I speak Tamil natively. And I am equally surprised and in a way ashamed of those organizations, because, while I disagree with what they are doing, they are my fellow citizens here. And, I cannot stay away from that fact. But here's how I interpret that issue. Now, within here, if we go to those physical locations where those are organizations operate out of, what we would notice is that would be a conventional customer care type IT support company. It would be they would actually have a legal registration for the business. So there will be paperwork to indicate that there is a certain activity that they are doing. However, what they end up doing is very different from what they declare in their paperwork. So they just have a registration. They will actually rent or lease a place in a commercial building, and then they will set up an office, and they have all these computers and phone connections. And then they
That's
it,
crazy.
for those employees, it's kind of their day job. What To me, what is surprising is that
So
they have been convinced to do that activity. They are not falling for any trick. They know that they are cheating innocent people, but they still do that. Now, it is hard for me to accept that because if I go to my family and tell them that this is what I do for a living, then they will disown me. That's the background I come from. And I'm sure most of my fellow citizens come from similar backgrounds. However, these scammers are exceptions who have given up the very concept of morality, and for them, there is no such thing as right or wrong. And as long as you make money, do whatever it takes, and as long as you're earning, well, cash is cash, and then do whatever it takes for that. And I think they have been brainwashed into that. And a lot of these scammers that I watch on those exposed videos are really young adults, in people in their 20s, most of them.
yeah, you can
Yeah,
tell.
so those are probably fresh graduates out of college who want to make a living, who want to have a career of their own, but in their locality, in their society, they do not have access to legal, legitimate jobs, and the ones that they have access to are these. And I also believe, and this is just my belief, I haven't validated my belief yet, that these networks they carefully recruit those individuals who do not doubt the morality behind what they do. You should be subscribing to their ideology of cheating innocent people. It's not cheating; it's earning for them, and so on. They are literally
Right.
eating out of someone else's misery, and that is not the right thing to do. But still, they do it, and there are many groups like that. And I'm not sure if legal action is being taken here. What I presume is those YouTubers collect those details and share it with the law enforcement here. Now, law enforcement here is quite fair in that regard. If they receive, and if the YouTubers can route that information, those evidences through the U.S. embassy here, then that would be a proper channel through which the Indian government can receive that information. In that case, that information will be given more weightage, and the law enforcement will definitely crack down upon those groups. It needs to happen. I don't know how many years this has been happening, and how many innocent people have lost their savings, and how many families have been impacted. What I do know is Americans have been cheated in this regard. Now I'm concerned how many people from other countries have been falling to such scams. I know
Yes.
it's an endless abyss in my view.
I know I've seen videos of the Australian government, and sending enforcement officers on like a joint task force with Indian law enforcement to go after some of these scam call centers. I've seen the videos, and
Canada's done the same.
They're very aggressive at Canada and Australia about going after it. The United States is less aggressive and they tolerate it more. And for me, that's frustrating because you're right. There are people who have clear information on who the scammer is, their exact name, right down to their, tax ID number. I mean, they know who this person is. And law enforcement's just like, I'm not going to go after that guy. It's not worth my hassle. And that's why they continue to scam American people, at least, because the other countries are starting to crack down on it in a very, very aggressive, almost military-like fashion, So, but what do you think would happen to your economy if, let's say, they were just overnight just eliminated, those scammer groups?
Absolutely nothing, because Indian economy has many other sources of income. These scam groups, these any form of organized crime, it's a small drop in the bigger ocean. If we say you take the scenario where the US law enforcement takes interest in this, they reach out to the Indian government, and all the scammer groups are busted and they are all put in jail. We won't even notice that blip in the economy. They are very, very, we are talking really small businesses. If you really have to classify them as businesses, they are really small businesses. We are talking anywhere between 20 to 60 people huddled up in a small office, and in many circumstances, it's actually a hideout. You go to the office, you have a formal office setup where 5 to 10 people are sitting, but then there is a wall separation behind which an entire group of 20, 30 people, they operate. And you won't even know that the office is actually holding more than 20 people. All you would see is 5 people. So it's they kind of make a hideout for themselves and operate out of those holes.
So they make it look like the front part looks like it's a legitimate operation.
Yes. And they might even have regular paperwork, because what I see on those videos is they have leased or rented, like 1 or 2 floors from commercial buildings in prominent locations. Now, if you have to lease that sort of a property, one, you need to have that type of cash. Two, you need to provide supporting documentation about what business you do. So, and because their scam is electronic, it is wire transfer. They are receiving the money electronically. It means they have the means to receive money electronically, which means they have set up multiple bank accounts connected to their business registration. So the paperwork is all legitimate, and it would be classified as something else. But what they actually do with their computers and headphones and mics is something else. And so they definitely have a legitimate mask on their face, and I think that's what is helping them operate in broad daylight. And here in Chennai, I would be surprised if such groups are operating out of Chennai. I would request those YouTubers to look into that. But however, compared to other parts of India, law enforcement in this part of the country is quite strict. And you cannot, if you look up gun violence in the northeast and western parts of India, you will see some gun violence incidents. Very few. Legally we cannot. It's not like US where every citizen of voting age can own and carry a concealed firearm. We need to apply for the license, and we need to justify the reason why we need to carry a firearm, and only a select class of firearms will be allowed. So if I am part of a business operation handling a lot of cash, going to the bank and back and forth, and I need that safety, then I can apply for it and I would be allowed to carry a small firearm, and that's it. But then I'll be part of the register, and if there is something sensitive about to happen in my locality, the first thing the law enforcement would do is reach out to me. So I would have to go to the police station and hand over my firearm. And so they have so many conditions. So here in South, you will not see a lot of gun violence, but when you look into incidents in the northern, eastern parts of India, you will see, historically they have been having a lot of country-made guns as well, which are illegal. So you will have, law enforcement is not that strict, so to speak. and it's still outside of the urban landscape. It's still a little bit like the wild west out there, and so you have a lot of country made guns, and so gun violence is unavoidable there. You don't see that sort of gun violence here in Chennai. So even the one or two incidents where that happens, the very first thing the law enforcement does is identify from where they procured that weapon. So I would be surprised if southern cities have it, but then Chennai and Bangalore are southern cities. There is another city, Hyderabad, which do have a lot of these IT organizations. And because these scammer groups are
Right.
operating under the guise of IT companies, I would expect some of them to operate out of here. But as of now, I haven't heard. So my request to the YouTubers is look into the organizations or scammer groups based out of Bangalore, Chennai, and Hyderabad. And if you have any information, please share it with me. I would be happy to forward that information to the law enforcement of the respective cities, and they will take action on it.
Okay, that's perfect. We'll get that information from you before we go at the end here. But I was going to say that I agree with you that getting rid of all the scam organizations wouldn't harm the economy. And I actually think over the long period of time, it will improve your economy because, like I use Nigerian people as an example. There's a lot of really talented Nigerian software developers. And, I'm a technology professional and they tell me all the time about how no one will hire them because they're afraid that somehow they're affiliated with a scammer or they are a scammer, and they're just trying to find a cover to, have access to different company systems. And, it's a legitimate fear, but there's ways. It doesn't matter where you're from. Everybody has to follow the same safety protocols and then we're okay. It doesn't matter who you are and where you're from.
Well,
But
there's
they
crappy
can't.
people everywhere, really.
Right, right. So I mean, but the point is they can't get hired as soon as they say they're from Nigeria. So then they try to do stupid things like lie about where their location is, and most people aren't competent enough to pull that off and know the time where they were and stuff like that. And so they mess that up. And so in the long run, they're in trouble because they can't get work in their chosen profession. And unfortunately, it's a vicious cycle because then what are they going to do? Some of them are going to get desperate and turn to the criminal way of making money. So scamming people. And like you said, it's the good part for them is it's electronic. So no one ever sees their face, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's just this vicious cycle of good guy tries to do a good job, can't get hired because no one will hire him, becomes a scammer, etc. And I know not everybody does that, but it's exactly like here with the criminal gangs that we have here. They get together and do all these. Some of them are into bank robberies. Some of them are into home invasions. But it's the same idea. They try to do a good job doing something, and for whatever reason, they're discriminated against, and boom, they become a criminal.
Yeah,
So I think you'll see your economy improve over the long haul.
sure, sure. And I totally agree with you. And I'm not completely immune from that stereotyping myself. I did reach out to those YouTubers who are exposing those India-based scammers, and I haven't received one response yet. And I can understand, coming from the same land where there are groups operating to scam
Sure.
people, they don't have any information to trust me. I could be one of those scammer groups trying to breach into their network and get their information so I can tip off those scammers here. So, they haven't responded to my
Exactly.
emails. So, which I can understand, although I don't have that motive and that's not who I am. That's not how my parents raised me, and there is no way I would do or tolerate anyone doing like that. My objective of reaching out to them was to get that information and just email that those links to the law enforcement agencies, and they go to so much lengths to send them a parcel with glitter and some sort of unbearable smelly chemicals and so on. They would rather hack their entire network and crash their network. That would save millions of people from getting scammed rather than capturing them on video with their face full of glitter. That's not going to pay back all the money that they have stolen from innocent people. And
Yeah.
what they have stolen is hard-earned money. So the best way to get back at them is like crash their system completely so that you know they are not able to operate. And if that keeps happening continuously, at some point they will realize that they are not in a safe environment. They are operating in a hostile environment. We will have to give back to them what they have been giving to us over the years, and that is my only concern there. So yes, I'm presuming because I am emailing from India and I'm Indian myself, they chose not to respond to my emails. But it's logical. I could be one of those scammers, and I can understand their concern. And these are, in my view, based on what I watch on those exposed videos, is that these are young adults in their 20s who have subscribed to this logic. Those are uh, uh, you know stakeholders who uh, have an education, they want to have a career, but unfortunately, where they are from, they don't have access to that many jobs. I think that is probably driving them to take any job that comes their way. But I'm not trying to justify their act of crime. But because down south we have a relatively flourishing economy compared to the northern half, the southern half of India is economically and even socially a bit better over the years. As we have had political leaders over the years, decades, who have focused more on education. So access to education is a bit more in the southern half of India, and that's why you would see Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad. It is these southern cities. All the organizations in the southern cities together will be many folds greater than the organizations in the other cities. Of course, there are other cities in other parts of India, the metro cities as we call it, Delhi, Kolkata, and Mumbai, those are really, and even Pune for that matter, those are really large urban landscapes. That those are big cities which have fair amount of employment, but then those are just patchworks amidst large area of rural villages, and they don't have the access to the economy as much as we do. And I presume these stakeholders come from those backgrounds. They just want to make a living, and then they come across this. In my view, this is again a get rich quick sort of a scheme where they get brainwashed. You know what? You come here, you join this. We will train you. There is a standard script. You just have to memorize the script, and you will have the information in front of you. Call these people and read the script, and then get them to do this, and then the more money you bring into the system, the more you get. It's kind of a sales program. I think they kind of lure these
Yeah.
young adults who are craving for a career, but that craving for a career cannot be utilized as a reason to participate in organized crime. Uh,
Well, for sure.
Unfortunately, they do
For
not.
sure.
They don't come from a background where they have people who they should have advised these kids while they were growing up that no matter what, you should do the right thing, and if when you know something is wrong, you should stay away from it. If you are not able to fight it, that's a separate story. But you shouldn't be part of that when you know that it is not the right thing.
So, after everything you've said, I know for sure some of our listeners are definitely going to be interested in hearing more of what you have to say. Can you let them know where they can find
Yeah.
you?
So my name is Arun, and I have a YouTube channel called Pagutarivu Podcast. And I can leave the link with you after our discussion here. And
Yeah, we can put that
yeah.
in the show
So
notes
that's
for
an
you.
email that they can always reach out to me. I am on Twitter as well. It's at the rate Crazy Notes, and you can again look up Arun at Pagutarivu Podcast, and my social media handles should show up.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the education, and I think on that note, I'll say goodnight, everyone.
Hasta la bye bye. Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.